Beloved, we have come together this afternoon, both in person and online, drawn by the death of Louise Weegie Dodd and our desire to share and express our love and respect for her. We've come together to express gratitude for her life. We are here perhaps with a mixture of feelings, deep gratitude mixed with sadness to say goodbye. And today, of course, we mourn, but let this also be a time for celebration, a time for remembering the person that Weegie was. Let this be a time for affirming and celebrating the kind of life which she led. Weegie died peacefully on April 9th of this year after a long, long battle with dementia. She was 78 years old. Today we hold in our hearts all those who were closest to Weegie and perhaps will miss her the most dearly. We think today of her wife and partner Nancy. We think of Weegie's brother Charles and sister-in-law Ann Dodd. Today we remember Weegie's nieces Jennifer, Emily, and Lara, and her nephew Peter. And of course, we think of Weegie's closest friends, many of whom are with us here today, either in person or online. Weegie suffered with dementia for 14 years, including 7 years of some very excellent care from Viewville Senior Care in Lowell. And today, of course, though we remember those recent difficult years, we also very much want to remember and celebrate Weegie's life before the illness, too. What Weegie was and what she meant to each of us, that is ours to keep forever. What she taught us, the legacy she left. Our memories of Weegie and the ways in which she touched our lives will be with us always. And so we turn our hearts toward one another this day, seeking to honor and celebrate the life of one dearly loved and so recently lost. Louise Weegie Dodd was born on January 15th, 1947, in Waterbury, Connecticut. She was the daughter of the late Malcolm Dodd and Virginia Smith Dodd. She grew up in Bethlehem and Litchfield, Connecticut, and then she went on to attend Skidmore College, receiving a degree in math. Weegie was drawn to helping others, so she pursued a career in healthcare. She went back to school and earned an undergraduate degree in nursing from Columbia University and then a master's in nursing from Yale. Weegie served as a visiting nurse and ultimately became the director of what was then called the Cambridge Visiting Nurses Association. And so that was the career of the earlier part of Weegie's life. In the middle age, Weegie changed careers, but still found a way to help people, but now by becoming a financial planner with the Women's Financial Network in Bedford, working along with her wife, Nancy. As for Weegie's avocations, some of you might recall that Weegie was an avid athlete. She loved to stay in shape. When she was a teenager, she played field hockey, but she had a lifelong love of exercise. She loved golf and bicycling, walking, and jogging. She was a devoted fan of the Red Sox. Some of you might recall that she loved birds and enjoyed casual birding. She also enjoyed gardening and landscaping. She had this artistic streak that in addition to the landscaping, she nurtured by drawing, and she took some drawing classes as well. She enjoyed her vacation time in Grand Cayman and other travel with Nancy. She loved music of all kinds and regularly attended the Boston Symphony for many years. Weegie was, by all accounts, a kind and caring person who really loved people. She spent some time, not surprisingly then, as a volunteer, giving back to her community by volunteering at the Lowell Food Pantry and also making jam for fundraisers with her dear friends right here at First Church Unitarian. Weegie had an easygoing personality, and she was exceptionally supportive of friends and family in things that they were doing. This afternoon, I'm reminded of the words of Margaret Mead. Remember me. To the living I am gone. To the sorrowful I will never return. To the angry I was cheated. But to the happy I am at peace. And to the faithful I have never left. I cannot be seen, but I can be heard. So as you stand upon a shore gazing at the beautiful sea, remember me. As you look in awe at a mighty forest and its grand majesty, remember me. As you look upon a flower and admire its simplicity, remember me. And so today we do pause together to remember Weegie. We rejoice together that one such as Weegie was among us. And today we are grateful for the gift of life, grateful to be part of the interdependent web of all existence, and grateful for the short and precious time that Weegie was lent to us. Together, let us recall the precious time that we had with this beautiful person. I'd like to invite Weegie's longtime friend, Alison Chase, to share a remembrance.
Hello. I and Dale, who's sitting right there, have known Weegie since around 1970, when we were nurses at Mass General, and Weegie came to work there. And I, like everybody else, adored Weegie. All of Mass General adored Weegie. But she had a pretty horrible job there. She was hired to do the time planning for all the nurses and medical assistants in the White Building at Mass General. And that was 12 floors of critical patients, understaffed. So she was always having to tell people, no, you can't have the time off you requested. Yes, you have to work weekends. You have to work Christmas. By the way, can you do a double and work nights too? And one day, after she'd done that for about a year, she walked into the office at 8 a.m. and said, I quit. I said, Weegie, why are you quitting? She said, because I had a dream last night. You're quitting because of a dream? Yes. She said it was about Janie. Everybody knew Janie was one of the best nurses in the hospital and the most willing to cover shifts that weren't covered. And she said, in the dream, Janie came to me and said, I can work nights Friday, and I can work Saturday afternoon and into the evening. But could I have Saturday morning off? Because, you see, I'm getting married. We just said, that's it. If I'm having dreams like that, I quit. And I'm going to go to nursing school. I'm applying to nursing school. Which was really good because Weegie was not only caring, thoughtful, creative, wonderful, but really smart. I mean, this woman majored in math back when girls didn't do math. And when I asked her why she chose math, I said, you can't get a career in math. She said, I wanted the challenge. Now that's Weegie. She also had a wonderful sense of humor. I used to give an annual Christmas party, and every year I'd put a poster up on a window with a quiz, just to give people something to do. The year before it was name all of Santa's reindeer. This year, It was named the Seven Dwarfs. Excuse me. And somebody had written Sleepy, and somebody had written Dopey. And there were several people standing around trying to think of another one. We just said, I've got one. She goes up and she writes, Horny. So, at any rate, at some point along the way, she moved into the apartment with Dale and me, and we had a spare bedroom in the front. That was hers. And I didn't know until she moved in that she didn't like cats. She was a dog person. She did not like cats, which was not good because Dale had 2 cats and I had 2 cats. So what she did was get herself a squirt gun. And she would be glued to the TV watching golf or tennis or, the Red Sox, any sport, but she'd be glued to it. And she'd be sitting in the living room. She had her squirt gun, and she'd see out of the peripheral vision some movement down on the floor there. And she'd just squirt that cat. And without ever looking, her aim was terrific. She hit the cat every time, and the cat would go running away. Anyway, when she moved out, she moved out because she said 3 roommates and 4 cats is too much for any one apartment. But also she was going to nursing school. And she knew that that front room was hers whenever she needed it, and she'd come back for visits. But she never told us when she was coming. Instead, by that time I was working in a clinic, she would come to the clinic and tell the receptionist, please tell Alison somebody's in the waiting room who wants to see her, but don't tell her who it is. And that would happen, and I'd go, oh, it's probably that guy. I had a million questions back with more questions. Oh, all right. Out I'd go in the waiting room, and it'd be Weegie. And I think she did that just because she wanted to see the delighted expression on my face whenever I saw her there. And she'd move in for a few days and then go back to nursing school. Anyway, in that apartment, we had a sort of apartment-type washing machine, the kind you have to hitch up to the sink. But in that apartment, you didn't have to. There was a pipe outside the wall with a knob on it. And all you had to do a wash was turn the knob and the water would go in the washing machine instead of the sink. And Weegie was visiting, and I wanted to do a wash. And I could not get that knob to turn. All of a sudden, it just froze up. So Weegie, of course, said, oh, let me do it. I mean, she was strong. She turns the knob, nothing happened. She said, just a minute. She goes back to her luggage. Now, her luggage was a small duffel bag for the weekend. And she comes back with a big plumber's wrench, the kind with the big jaws. And she puts it on that handle and gives it all her strength, and the handle didn't move. What did happen was a section of the pipe around the handle broke off, and the water's spouting all over the kitchen like Trevi Fountain. And we're standing ankle deep in water, just laughing. We got it all cleaned up. Oh, I'm sorry. We got it all cleaned up. And I didn't know till the following Monday after Weegie had left that I had to pay a fair amount of money to clean up the water damage in the landlady's apartment below us. Thank you for being so helpful. She did like to be helpful. And a little later, when she was in the nursing home, she was somewhat ninny, but not too bad yet. At any rate, I called up to see if I could take her to lunch the next day. And the person answering the phone said, yes, please take her to lunch so she won't help me. And I thought about the plumbing, and I said, I understand completely. Shortly after that, I took her to Lowell National Park. Now, if you have not been to Lowell National Park, you should go. It's much better than you'd think. But if you have been, you know, if you go on the tour, you climb up the steps into a trolley, take the trolley ride, climb down, then climb into a boat, and on the boat tour, you climb in and out of the boat a lot to see things. And there was a gentleman, an elderly gentleman, who decided to leave his walker and not take it on the tour, and he was pretty unsteady on his feet. Weegie spent the entire time watching over that man. And she did it just right. She stood behind him, so he didn't know anybody was watching over him, but where she could catch him if he started to fall. And I watched her to make sure she was doing it right, and she was. And, you know, talk about caring and helpful. There she was. Anyway, she used to come to my cabin in New Hampshire, as many people did, to go hiking in the White Mountains. And a 4,000-footer never fazed her at all. She'd just scurry right up there, no problem. And all my friends, all my hiking friends, knew that I loved to run down the last part of the mountain. But Weegie was the only one who did this. We'd come around the corner, and there'd be a perfect running trail ahead of us. And she'd just slip my backpack off my back without saying a word and carry it down the rest of the mountain so that I could fly unencumbered down that mountain, bouncing off the rocks, saying, "Wee, what a gift. What a gift to me." Once we were taking a walk, and that was right when they were working her up, trying to figure out what was wrong with her memory. And we stopped for a rest, and I said, "Weegie, did they come up with a diagnosis yet?" And she said, "Yes." And then her face went blank, and she said, "It begins with A." And my heart sank down to my toes. But I have to thank you, Nancy, because you made sure that she had the kind of care she would have given to anybody else. And that was a lot of work and a long time. And I really thank you for that, because that was very reassuring to me. Anyway, people talk about RIP. I don't think Nancy's resting in peace at all. She is up there making God and everybody else laugh, being helpful wherever she can, directing the angels when they sing. And if cats go to heaven, and I think my sweet kitty did, she's got a fantastic squirt gun. And maybe also a 16-inch, very heavy plumber's wrench. Because why? Irregardless.
Thank you, Alison. I would now like to invite longtime friend Babs Fenby to share remarks.
This is a very strange place to be. Bear with me. Okay, so Weegie was a nurse at Emerson Hospital when I got to know her. And when I met her in the early 80s, I wasn't sure that we would get along. I mean, she seemed very straight in every sense of the word. But then I got to know her, and she wasn't straight in any sense of the word. She was an amazing friend. When her longtime friend Alison was completing the 48 4,000-footers in 1990 in New Hampshire, she wanted to be there to cheer her on. So up we go for the weekend to Alison's cabin to hike with her. And Weegie wields the same determination she uses with all tasks. It was a serious slog to Ocella, East Ocella, and Squam Ridge. But she kept the focus on her friend Alison. Always the focus was on others, always on making sure that the people around her were accomplishing what they needed to do. And it wasn't until later that we were kind of coming back down And we climbed a little hill. She had to help me up some boulders because I'm older than her. And it was amazing that at that point she was talking about herself and how much she enjoyed it and what it meant to her. And I thought, that's how Weegie operates. She remains a very hidden soul, yet is totally engaged, unseen underneath the persona that we all so much enjoy. It was those glimpses of her that we always got that were just so tantalizing, the person behind the persona. There are so many memories like that she slowly lost, our times together kind of gurgling away in a never-ending stream of bereavement as she wasted away, and we were left wondering, did I abandon her? Or is the whole process a process of abandonment of her and of us and of you? When I would stay at her place in Newton, she would grab the sports page of the Globe and I would peruse the news. She introduced me to Fenway and was the best kind of seatmate. She was informed, engaged, energetic, and definitely not afraid to show her feelings to those in the stands. I still don't fancy baseball, but let me tell you, I'd go with her in a flash anytime, and I wish we still could. We went down to New York City on Flag Day, June 14th, before it became kind of an incipient political event, in 1989 to see M. Butterfly with John Lithgow and B.D. Wong. So we saw the play, and we did the Statue of Liberty, visited with my daughter, who was doing a waitress gig down in Lower East Side, and we hung around St. Mark's, and we went to all the bookstores, you know, the usual kind of stuff you do when you go to the city. And then we were driving back, and we talked about the play, and the themes of denial, of blurring the lines between straight and gay, of self-awareness and persona, all the way home. She was a really, really smart and insightful person, and even at moments about herself. Ultimately, when she married Nancy, I was delighted for her to have found someone who could match her brightness and awareness, and someone who could actually see her. I remember her silliness. At her birthday party at my house, with friends and family, she's not sure people are actually going to show. But then they jammed the house, and you can imagine what that was like. Those of you who were there will remember. I felt that she often underestimated her true impact on others, and not seeing that those who loved her could actually see and accept her. Her silliness, holding hands across America in 1986, trying to create a continuous link across the USA to fight hunger. By the way, that was unsuccessful. The links were not successful. There's still hunger in America. We are on the bridge in Cambridge, she laughing and fooling with people she doesn't even know. And she engages everyone, generally making our section the fun section where everyone wanted to be. Her silliness in explaining a series of interrelated, ever-changing personal relationships that were quite complicated in her acquaintance group at one point. So we're sitting in this diner in kind of outskirts suburban Boston. And she starts by saying, well, you have to understand, this is Mary, and this is Joan, and this is Jane. We borrow some more salt and pepper shakers. And this is, and don't forget Kris. And then she starts moving them all around in dead seriousness, at least apparent. She had me in gales of laughter, tears running down my cheeks. And to this day, I can remember her delight in kind of pulling off this thing, while the waitresses were like, what is that lady doing? Weegie taught me so many things about myself and the world through knowing her. And every time I replicate her dolly domestic, her term, move of putting a pint of ice cream from the freezer into the microwave to soften it up, there she knowingly is, laughing and with Nancy.
Thank you, Babs. Let's sing. Our first hymn is one that was very dear to Weegie and is very dear to Nancy. It was written by a former minister of this church, Reverend Fred Small. It's number 1019 in the teal hymnal, Everything Possible. The words will also be on the screens. So I invite you to rise in body or spirit to sing. Please be seated. I'd like to invite Weegie's sister-in-law, Ann Dodd, to share.
met Weegie in 1973, a bit after I began falling in love with her little brother, Charlie. She seemed all grown up, living in her own apartment in Boston, driving her own car. I was so impressed. I had been told that she majored in math in college, a kindred spirit, I thought. So I expected that we would become friends, and we easily did. She became my fourth sister. By the time I met her, she had become a visiting nurse. I could easily think of her caring for patients in their homes and then jumping in her navy blue Volkswagen Beetle to navigate her way through Boston's confusing streets to her next appointment. I admired her persistence in searching and ultimately locating her treasured stolen VW, which had been misfiled in the police records. She had had no trouble measuring the lengthy VIN. I learned that she invited her niece Jennifer and then her much younger nephew Pete to come to Boston to stay with her for a week in the summer, sharing the Boston Red Sox and other Boston highlights she loved with them. She was their fun-loving aunt. Once, we traveled together to Philadelphia to watch Charlie row in the Dad Vale Crew Regatta. This was long before GPS became available, and we spent what seemed like hours trying to navigate the city, so much like Boston with its narrow one-way streets, to find the venue. Round and round we went looking for the elusive river. It became hysterically funny when Weegie declared that someone must be following us and switching the street signs. When she and Nancy were married in this church more than 20 years ago, she became my seventh sister, and we have become even closer in the last 10 years, as we met with both Weegie and Nancy nearly every week. When Weegie began to struggle with her ability to speak, I lamented the loss of her remarkable vocabulary and the apparent ease with which she accessed the perfect word. Her last years were spent mostly in silence. She was tenderly cared for by the staff at Rivercourt and Duville Senior Care, and she never showed signs of distress or frustration, which was a blessing for all of us. I suspected that she was working on math problems while she was patiently seated in her chair. I teased her when we visited that she must be practicing her multiplication table. And because of her, I now know that 12 times 17 is 204.
Thank you, Anne. I'd like to invite sister-in-law Tricia Olt to share her remembrance.
These are some tough acts to follow, so don't expect a lot. We're here to honor and celebrate the life of Weegie. She officially became a member of our family about 20 years ago in this very church. And in reality, we considered her a part of the Olt clan a long time before that. A few brief anecdotes so that you get the gist. More than 23 years ago, our mother passed away. It became apparent really quickly that we needed to get our dad into an adult community that we'd been looking into for a while. In order to do this, we needed to sell the house that he had been living in. This involved cleaning out a home that was a part of all of our lives for the better part of 40 years. You may have a hint of what's involved. Weegie was so wonderful in helping us deal with the cleaning out part. I think her favorite activity during that time was her many trips to the local dump. She knew the location, the hours of operation, and was on a first-name basis with the front gate security staff. And since she didn't have an emotional attachment to the house or any of its contents like the rest of us, she was an impartial voice of reason, helping us decide what to keep, donate, or toss. As difficult as the process was, Weegie made it a lot easier for us. When we first met Weegie, she was living in the house in Arlington that had an attached greenhouse and a really big backyard. During one visit, my husband and I were given so many herbs and tomatoes from the garden that I had to borrow a small duffel bag to use as carry-on for the trip home. When I got home, I used the herbs and the tomatoes to make sauce, or gravy, depending on what part of Italy you're from. We can have that discussion later downstairs. As a result of that visit, every summer I continue to grow herbs in containers and make homemade sauce as soon as the ripe tomatoes are available at the farmer's market. After Weegie and Nancy moved to Chelmsford, they continued to garden on a smaller scale and continued their other pursuits of interest, which happened to be sports. I remember one weekend shortly after they had gotten one of the first high-definition TVs. My husband and Weegie watched college football while Nancy and I went out. When we returned, Gary said it was like watching college football, and it was like both of them were on the field with the players, and you could almost count the blades of grass. Thanks a lot, you guys. All I heard for the next 6 months was what a lousy TV set we had compared to the one that was yours. Now, I'm not saying that Nancy and Weegie would plan their lives around sports. However, in 2004, when the Boston Red Sox played the St. Louis Cardinals in the World Series, game number 1 happened to fall on October 23rd, the day of their wedding. Was it just coincidence that they planned the ceremony at noon with the reception immediately following so they could be home to see the first pitch? And as a wedding gift, Boston took the series in 4 games. You're welcome. I'm pretty lousy at public speaking, so when doing research on what to say at a funeral, one of the suggestions was to end with a quote. So I found one by Dr. Seuss that seemed to fit the occasion. And it said, "Don't cry because it's over, smile because it happened." Thank you, Weegie.
Thank you, Tricia. Thank you, Carolyn. I invite you to join me in the spirit of prayer or meditation or simple reverence. Spirit of life, source of all, known by many names, we honor and celebrate the life of Louise Weegie Dodd, the lives she has touched, and the legacy that she leaves. We are born from mystery. We are born a miracle of the cosmos and stardust. And when we die, we are received back into the mystery. We are deeply grateful for the gift of Weegie's life and her journey among us and beyond us, yet still with us in spirit. We each knew Weegie at a different time in her life and in different ways. Now, I invite you to join me in a time of silent reflection, silent prayer or meditation, remembering Weegie as you knew her, and celebrating the gift of life and for the gift of her life to you. Blessed be, and amen. I'd like to invite Weegie's friend from this church, Kris Ersland, to come and share a reading.
I got to know Weegie very well in the jamming group at church, and she was a joy to have in the kitchen. She had us laughing all the time. It was so wonderful. And she was a wonderful dishwasher. I have a reading from David Harkins. You can shed tears that she is gone, or you can smile because she has lived. You can close your eyes and pray that she will come back, or you can open your eyes and see all that she has left. Your heart can be empty because you can't see her, or you can be full of the love that you shared. You can turn your back on tomorrow and live yesterday, or you can be happy for tomorrow because of yesterday. You can remember her and only that she is gone, or you can cherish her memory and let it live on. You can cry and close your mind, be empty and turn your back, or you can do what you would want. Smile, open your eyes, love, and go on.
Thank you, Kris. This is our time now for sharing. An opportunity for you, if you wish, to share a memory or a tribute to Weegie. And one of our deacons can be around with a microphone, or you can come up here if you prefer. And if you do use the handheld mic, please hold it close to your mouth. We'd love to know your name, and then you can share your memory or tribute. If you're in the sanctuary, when you want to speak, you can raise your hand, and we'll come to you, or you can come up. And if you are with us on Zoom, you can raise the hand in the reactions area, and we'll call on you. Yes.
I was invited to speak, not from my own words, but from my nephew Pete Smith and Weegie's nephew Pete Smith. He got the email inviting him to this event, and he was just heartbroken to read the date because he couldn't make it today. So he composed this letter to share with us. I am the lucky one to read it to you. The news of Weegie's passing awakened in me an ongoing stream of memories, which, based on the warmth of those thoughts, will likely continue for some time. I hope forever. Even as a child, I looked up to my older cousin, Weegie, had the capacity to render me a bit, starstruck. Even though I had 2 teenage sisters of my own, Weegie always dazzled me with a way that was on a whole different level. What? She goes to college? What? She plays golf? I would unconsciously take notes, not just on Weegie's bio, but on her affability and hearty laugh. And this is from a Smith who, I'm not the Smith, but the writer is a Smith. And he says that laugh was 100% Yankee certified Smith laugh. So it was a great laugh. Years went by, and one of the great pleasures of my coming of age was the ability to relate to Weegie as more of a peer. Soon after Sally and I got married and we moved to California, or as Sally's mother would say, that state on the other side of the continent. While in San Francisco, we would often spend weekends and holidays in the Lake Tahoe region, surrounded by the mountainous Sierras. With ski resorts, fir trees, wooded bike trails, I would try to squint and pretend that I was in my cherished New England. It was on such a trip where we would meet and spend time with several of our West Coast friends who had qualities similar to those that I always admired in Weegie. They embraced nature, kind of like Weegie. They led centered and healthy lifestyles, kind of like Weegie. And they outfitted in the proper LL Bean gear, exactly like Weegie. Weegie would have fit in right here. Even though through the years I've lived on the East Coast, Weegie and I spent far too little time in each other's company. Yet I was fortunate to be wired in a way that allowed me to keep her close in spirit. Now that she's left this earthly plane, and I remain in a world where human virtues sometimes are in retreat, I'll exploit the ability to keep Weegie close in spirit with an ever-increasing longing and frequency. Signed, Pete Smith. Thank you.
Thank you, Charlie, and thank you, Pete. Is there anyone else who would like to share? You can raise your hand.
Apologies in advance for the sniffles. That's just who I am. Weegie and I... my name's Anita Saville, and I met Weegie about 35 years ago. We shared an avid love of gardening. And I was part of the corps that was called into action to try to recover the yard in Chelmsford that had become totally overgrown in the front, and Weegie was determined to make it a beautiful garden, which she did. I also want to remember Weegie that she actually saved one of our cats, and it was interesting to find out that she did not like cats because one of our cats got very sick, and we were away, and she took him to Angel Memorial and really saved his life. The third thing that I would like to share with you is, this one's a hard one. When my mother, Shirley, was dying, Weegie was the last person in the room with her and held her hand till the very end when Emily and I just couldn't bring ourselves to be right there. And Weegie was just at the beginning of her challenges mentally, and so we were just so grateful that she was there for us. And ditto to everything that everybody else has said.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Compared to most of you, I have not known her very long, only 25 years or so. So I met Weegie and Nancy here at this church, and we became friends and participated in church activities. So I've only known, so the years I knew her before she got sick are very fleeting and short, but what I wanted to share was, with all of you, I just heard joyfulness and her laughter and the chuckle. That's what I remember about her. And so my memory of her now is when I visited with Nancy once at Deauville, and she had stopped speaking, but there we were, each holding a hand, rubbing her arm, and the chuckle kept emerging. And there she was, and I imagined, like some of you were saying, that she was, whether she was doing math or hearing us on some level, it just brought me a lot of joy to be with her and to hear it one more time.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to share? Well, we will be gathering back downstairs for the reception, so you will have a chance to visit with the Dodds and the Olts and share with each other memories and stories. So thank you for those who shared. In a moment, we're going to sing our closing hymn, and that will be followed by the benediction and the postlude. I ask that you please remain seated and enjoy the postlude music, and then the families will greet you downstairs for refreshments and to continue our time of visiting and sharing. So our closing hymn is in the gray hymnal, number 86, Blessed Spirit of My Life, and the words are also on the screens. I invite you to rise and body your spirit. Beloved, may we be gentle with ourselves and each other today and in the days to come. May we commit Louise Weegie Dodd to the preciousness of memory, where she will remain with us all of our days. We leave with a benediction in the Unitarian Universalist tradition, adapted words of Joel Miller. Under the vast spiral of time and space, surrounded by the simple blessings of a community of care and love, we carry these memories of Weegie with us back to the communities and life she loved. Grant us strength, wisdom, and thanksgiving. Give us the strength to speak of our lives so that each day yet to come we find more compassion, more understanding, more of the loving kindness that fills our world with joy and laughter. Give us the courage to cherish one another. Let us continue to lead lives of dignity and love and caring for others as Weegie would have done and wanted for us. We thank each other for this time together, and we are thankful for the short and precious gift of life, and especially that of Weegie's. We miss her dearly. Please be seated. Thank you. Let us please gather back together downstairs.